Greetings, Alva here. So this is the first in 2 or 3 sports video game videos I'd like to do this fall, and I'd like to talk about one great game and then another one that brings me quite a bit of pain and possibly a bonus one. Now look, I'm not taking the channel in a sports direction, it's just a few things I kind of want to get off my chest and give you guys some suggestions. I'm a casual sports guy, I'd say. I love hockey, let's go Blackhawks, and baseball. Before you ask, I'm sadly a White Sox fan. So yeah, I watch a few hockey or baseball games a week here and there if they're in season, but I actually did a ton of baseball watching while I was off work dealing with some more health issues again this year. Now I grew up, obviously, like a lot of you guys, playing baseball, hockey games, stuff like this with my buddies on the couch, but I haven't bought a modern sports game in a very, very long time. So I recently did, however, pick up an indie hockey game called Tape to Tape earlier this summer, and my wife and I played the absolute dog piss out of it. I'm probably going to make a video on it later on down the road, but it was the start of reliving that classic early 2000s vibe of sitting on the couch and crushing your friends on NHL that's really been lost these days. I was really looking for that feeling and jonesing to find a fix to bring me back to those old days. Tape to Tape did that for a while. After playing that until we almost filed for divorce, I started looking around for other sports games that were fun and not filled with trading card games? What is going on here? It was then randomly I stumbled across a post on r/baseball when a user mentioned a series called Super Mega Baseball. Super Mega Baseball gameplay is what really makes it shine. It's fun and simulates real physics simultaneously. There's also a custom feature where you can design your own uniforms, players, and attributes. This isn't only the best baseball game out on the market, it's the best sports game. So what was this game all about? I was f***ing sold. You know I love that XCOM customization, so you know I was about to make my own custom league full of friends and family. You know I go sicko mode like that.
Legends say they're still trying to get to that ball.
Booting it up for the first time, I was greeted with a really cool soundtrack and great art style. The art, of course, makes me think it's going to be a cheap arcade game that I'd have several hours of fun with every now and again, but it proved to be deceitful. There are several pre-made leagues with dudes with some of the funniest names possible. Hammer Longballo, Whopper Batsman, Knox Oxensoxen, Klaus de Game, who is a closing pitcher, Sturdy Woodman, Devin Godsendez. There are also teams made up of legends from the MLB, guys like Babe Ruth, and they're all separated out into their own era teams, like the Boomers and Thrillers and all this stuff. It's kind of like era-specific teams. While I'm browsing, the radio host kept making these dumbass jokes, which honestly got me laughing pretty hard occasionally. So I started a random match with 2 teams, and the game teaches you the mechanics very slowly, but as you keep going, it teaches you a tad bit more, and it starts to show its true, almost staggering depth. Press A to swing the bat. Select the pitch and hit A. Now start power swinging, power pitching. Look at this dude's stats, skills, how to steal bases, catching stealers, throwing minigame, moving base runners another way, moving base runners in weird ways, diving to catch, jumping to catch, bunting, and on and on. My wife and I are still discovering new things we didn't know we could do even almost 200 hours in. By the way, it's not just an arcade game, it follows the actual baseball rules too. It's got infield flies, double plays, fouls. It was immediately addicting. I haven't been addicted to playing a game like this since I picked up XCOM 2 or RimWorld. It's that bad for me. The customization. You can make people's names, numbers, voices, looks, gear, batting stance, and style, walk-up songs, and on and on. Sure, it's not ridiculous or anything, but it gives you tons of options to make people look unique and add little details to make them look exactly like you want. It also has a really good stats system, which isn't overwhelming and does matter quite a bit. You have main stats, skills, and then a synergy style system. Stats are basic and easy to understand. Power, how hard they can hit. Contact, how well they can actually connect with the bat. Speed, fielding, how well they can catch, dive, etc., how often they'll fumble the ball. You can change what pitches a pitcher gets here as well. Skills are like perks. If they have stealer, well, they steal faster. Some have more power against left-handed pitchers, and so on. The synergy system is cool too. It works like if you've got a ton of crafty players on your team, they get a bonus to crafty skills, like stealing, and the bonus is quite noticeable. It's a cool thing later on in franchise mode, as you're not just looking for an A+ stat player, but one that molds well with the team and has good stats. It's just a cool detail that makes the teams feel different rather than weaker or stronger depending on the stats. You then move into making custom logos, pick team names, pick where they play, pick their strikeout or run scored noises. Then you can even separate these into their own conferences and then divisions, and then you can make custom free agents that can be signed throughout the year or after the playoffs are done. I have 14 custom teams split into 2 divisions with over 200 free agents. I've lost my mind, and I cannot stop. Franchise mode is incredibly well done in this game as well, and honestly, it's one of the best things ever in a sports game. It's peak. You can start with a draft or keep your team as is. It gives you a season schedule, shows standings and wins and losses, and stats for players. It shows their salaries, what free agents are available, and they even lower their asking prices as the season goes on, and everything's just quite dynamic. You even have a whole section dedicated to player development, which has tons of funny things you can buy to help your players with their skills, like sending them on a celebrity date so they have more power when they swing, or sending them for experimental drugs to increase their pitching accuracy. Players might get injured when they play, so you might need to trade off a relief pitcher for a new shortstop for a few games. These players have loyalty scores which are affected by their pay, how much money you spend to develop them, or if you blame them for farting in the dugout after a game. This also affects how likely they are to want to rejoin at the same salary at the end of the year, so there is a bit of a GM mode aspect to it as well. Players even have a mojo and fitness stats, so if a pitcher gives up 3 home runs in the first inning or a batter doesn't get any hits, their mojo goes down, and that affects their stats. They can get all bad and start making mistakes on the field too. If a player has been playing catcher for 4 or 5 games straight, they get less fit and need rest. You can bench them for a few games to restore mojo or fitness, but you might pay the price for having a shitty backup player to replace them. There is the opposite too, where mojo can become locked in and fitness can become stimulated, where these players just become unstoppable for several games. It really does feel like a simulation of the actual MLB, where players get hot and some others struggle for a bit. Just adds a really cool dynamic to a game and might be one of the cooler things I've ever seen in a sports game. Of course, age plays a factor. As younger players will get better, then they'll peak, and then as they get older, they get a little worse until they eventually retire at a random age. Franchise mode keeps going and going as well, and will constantly add in new custom free agents for you each season. It literally goes on forever. I think I read somewhere that stat tracking goes to over 75 seasons total, so you can keep track of Hall of Fame level players listed on your top 10 literally 50 years after they've retired if they were that good. It's just cool to keep track of all that stuff. This franchise mode is literally the best, and as I've mentioned, it keeps it stupid amounts of fun for literally hundreds of hours. Now let's talk about Ego. Ego is basically the game's difficulty and scales really well. It goes from 1 up to 99. It's not like easy, hard, etc., but more of a slow grading curve. You can adjust certain parts of it too, say making pitching really hard, but keeping batting really easy if you struggle with it. As you get better, the game will suggest you increase your ego. Of course, it starts off with the ball coming in really slow, base runners and outfielders doing most of the work for you. Batting is basically just tapping a button at the right time. But then those pitches come at a little faster and in weirder locations. Then you've got to actually time power swings with certain pitches and actually start using the left stick to aim to hit the ball, which unlocks a new skill in your brain because now you've got to hit the ball where you want, which adds more to the overall skill ceiling of the game. Then you've got to start keeping track of your pitches because the AI will crank homers on you if you keep throwing fastballs on an 0-2 count, or your third pitch is always down and away. You'll have to follow the ball's shadow as an outfielder to actually catch the thing. The whole thing is really well done. I'm at 60 ego now, which took me about 100 hours to get to, so it scales really, really well in my opinion. Even going up a few points in ego when you're up there higher changes the AI quite a bit. Quick side note, I also swear the umpire doesn't call balls and strikes the same near the zone game to game, kinda like IRL umpires are different. It's kinda nuts. It's not a simulation per se, but it's definitely not an arcade game either. It fits a great middle ground that should make plenty of people happy with it. Surprisingly, the details are there too and impress me quite a bit. The soundtrack is like a radio, and a dude comes on and makes jokes about baseball or other random crap, then a GTA-style commercial plays about gravy gulp, a weird mix of gravy and soda if you can't decide whether you're hungry or thirsty.
I hope you enjoyed that last song. I didn't actually mean to play that one, but my fingers are covered in Crestlin's pork rind grease. I said Crestlin's pork rind grease. Okay.
There are a ton of these commercials too, and just little dialogue the host does. It took me a long time before I started hearing repeats. Hecklers in the crowd say hilarious things, so does the announcer. It's one of the few sports games I actually don't turn off the announcers or soundtrack on because it's pretty solid. You know how in sports games when you hit a loading screen the soundtrack just shits the bed and it's all quiet? I don't know how they did it, but in this game if the radio DJ is talking and it starts loading, he makes mention of that, makes an excuse, and plays you a new song. It's just kind of a cool detail. There's a lot of love.
The Beat the Freak charity race with K Frequent and brain fart. Music!
The details and the ballparks are cool and varied. It's not just US-styled parks either, by the way. It's tons of Asian, South American ones as well in there. A lot have different weather effects, seating, visuals, audio cues, etc. It's a nice variety, especially in franchise mode when you're traveling to a away game. It's just got a ton of love put into it, and it makes me happy to finally have a great sports game on PC with no nonsense. The only DLCs it has is Ballparks. There are no microtransactions to unlock skins or bats or whatever. It's all available. But you can buy the whole Ballpark edition on sale for like $15 like I did if you want the extra Ballparks. So what's the catch here? Well, sadly the devs Metalhead were purchased before the release of Super Mega Baseball by EA. Super Mega Baseball 4 wasn't marketed, and very well anyway, and its fan base is quite niche compared to MLB The Show, I'd say. I think it's an easy game to overlook as some sort of goofy arcade-style game, as I mentioned before, so I think it sold very poorly. I've not confirmed, but I have seen estimates of only like 20,000 copies sold, and its all-time peak on Steam charts was only 509 players. I find this an absolute shame though, and really wanted to pass along how good and worth your time this game is, even at full price. I constantly see bitching about MLB The Show, 2K Basketball, FIFA, whatever, all over the internet. It's just the same bullshit release every time, which is now more focused on, I guess, trading cards or something? I don't know. So if you're looking for literally the perfect baseball game, or hell, even a perfect sports game, I cannot recommend Super Mega Baseball 4 enough. Sadly, it looks as if Metalhead has been absorbed into EA Sports proper, probably to be sent to fix bugs on MLB or some other hellhole over there. I really hope this isn't true and the series makes some sort of comeback, or even they make something like Super Mega Hockey. So again, all I want to say is, go buy this game if it interests you at all, or if you're into baseball or just sports games in general. It's got so much love, so much fun, and a blast to sit down and play with friends and family. Franchise mode has also brought me just tons of joy and endless amounts of fun thus far. Next time, we'll be telling the tale of another game that showed a lot of love, but then faded into another seemingly cheap, unfinished cash grab. When its goal was to be the most feature-complete, loved and true game in its sport. It's honestly heart-crushing. My name is Alva. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.